Hey, good evening, everybody. It's 6:04, and we're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, and thank you for being with us this evening. At approximately 8:30, the Board of Education will determine which of the remaining agenda items can be considered and acted upon prior to 9 o'clock, and may continue all other items, which additional time is required until further meeting. All meetings are scheduled to end no later than 9 p.m. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Schwant to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schwant.
Mr. Schwant, since he was muted the whole time, it was kind of like a ventriloquist thing.
Yes.
So I was saying it, and his lips were moving.
So I was saying it, so hopefully somebody can hear me.
All right, thank you.
I love it. Okay. So that's funny. That was funny.
Hi, Emily.
All right, and so we have established a quorum, and now we will go on to the hearing session. All right, and what it is as authorized by the Government Newsom Executive Order N2920, dated March 17th, 2020, the Alvord Unified School District will conduct all meetings of the governing board via teleconference until further notice. The meetings will be live streamed via YouTube. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, the governing board will take public comment. All public comments must be submitted in writing in advance of the meeting. Public comments were to be emailed to superintendent@alvardschool.org no later than 9 a.m. on June 25th, 2020. During the governing board meeting, written public comments received in a timely manner will be read for the governing board. Pursuant to the board bylaw 9323, public comment period will limit speaking to 20 minutes. Duplicate public comments will not be read to the board. However, all written public comments will be provided to the board in advance of the meeting. Dr. Muzzarino, at this time, I'll ask if there's any public comments.
There are no public comments, Madam President.
Okay. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on with the agenda, and we'll go on to the superintendent's report on schools reopening. It's all yours, Muzzarino.
Well, thank you, Madam President. Let me go ahead and get the presentation up, first of all. And let me preface it that this presentation will be available on our website and will also be sent out in my weekly message. So those who are unable to stay for the entire presentation today or have additional questions or concerns will be able to see this again. Once may not be enough, lots of stuff. And I will send it out in my weekly message. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm calling this Reopening Alvord Schools Continuity of Learning because that's really what is most critical here. All we're hearing about is reopening. And of course, that is what we're doing. But the truth is we really are focused on the continuation of our children's education, and not only academic education, obviously. We want our kids with us. And we are going to work towards making that happen. And we're going to work closely with all of the many people that are working with us on this project. And I'm going to talk about that during this presentation. Planning principles. So what is undergirding this work are these 5 primary principles. First of all, it has to be adaptable. We have to be prepared in the event that there is rolling closures or something, God forbid, happens again, like in March, and we have to move to a more restricted model. So it has to be adaptable. Number 2, responsive to conditions that are changing. So part of being adaptable, of course, is to be able to respond moment's notice. Informed by public health guidelines. So between the CDC and others, particularly locally, our Riverside County Health Department, who have been wonderful throughout this process, working closely with us. We will continue to monitor them very closely, also through the County Department of Education, which has a dedicated division specifically addressing public health. Informed by stakeholders. And I'm going to talk about our task force. I'm going to talk a little bit about all the messaging and all the input that we are getting. Clearly, we want to respond to the needs of our community. And you can't do that if you don't know what the community wants. So we are continuing to reach out. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then this critical piece in equity are products of design. So in other words, you get what you design for. So as we design these programs moving forward, we're looking to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the variety of children that we serve. And it's a great variety that we serve, that we're happy to serve in Alvord. The framework: equity, access, coherence. So the shared depth of understanding about the nature of this work is critical to any decision that the Board of Education will make. You are trusting the team led by me and the cabinet and all of our facilitators on our task force to provide you with information that you could trust to make this decision moving forward about how reopening looks come August 10th. Continuous improvement and monitoring and communicating. So once again, we do not expect this to be a static thing. We have to have contingencies. We have to continue to monitor on a regular basis, obviously, to ensure that if we do have to make changes, that we are prepared to do so. And then the reopening continuity of learning goals, which are rooted, again, in the practical, not just the philosophical elements of equity. So we talk a lot about equity, of course, it's out there, but what does it look like? What are the practical implications of equity? And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight as well. And I'm toggling back and forth because in Google Meets, I can't control this within this. I have to go back to that page and come back. So I apologize for the delay. Okay, our timeline. We started this in May when we put our task force together. And then we assembled focus groups, and I'll show you those in a minute. On the 19th, the County Department of Education released their guide to reopening schools. We did have a contingent of Alvord people from all stakeholder groups on that committee. We had both our association presidents, we had members of the district team, we had students and a parent representative as well. Between June 20th and the 29th, our focus groups are meeting. And when we meet again for my next report, we will have more feedback from the focus groups. Most have had at least one meeting, some two. And then I will continue to provide community updates, both in this space as well as in my weekly messaging, and of course, utilizing all the social media platforms. We'll have a board study session on the 9th. And that will be when we expect to have the task force recommendations for discussion. And then between the 10th and 15th, the Board of Education will determine at that point if another meeting, another study session is warranted, and if it chooses to discuss it further. We do have a scheduled meeting on the 16th, which could be as soon as that point that a decision is made. But once again, being intentional, being deliberate is our goal, while at the same time we realize our families are anxious. Everyone's anxious. Our teachers, our staff, everyone's anxious to get this going. But we certainly want to continue to be intentional. The task force, we have the following groups that you could see. I won't read that, but again, everyone could see, hopefully, on the screen. And we are covering all of the major areas. This is a model that the county utilized, so we mimicked it. knowing that we had a bunch of our team members on that county, so they had a good working model in place. So I'd like to thank the facilitators who are doing a wonderful job taking the lead and working with their particular groups. Okay, so looking at what we're trying to accomplish, we have these 4 primary elements. Providing social emotional support, knowing that many of our families are having very traumatic experiences, from everything from unemployment to all the health scares and potential disease in their own families, movement, people perhaps having to move, everything that's very traumatic, particularly for children. So that is undergirding our work. Stakeholder voices, as I mentioned earlier, ensuring that we are hearing from our families. We have currently a parent survey, and we're closing in on 30% of our families participating in that. We currently have a student survey out that went out yesterday, so we're looking forward to that feedback real soon. Should have that for the next meeting. And then both of our employee groups are also surveyed. Academic integrity. How do we ensure that our academic programs, knowing that we're limited and restricted by COVID, are still going to provide what our children need and deserve? You come to expect a great education in Albert, and we expect to give that to you. We just have to work exactly on all the protocols, and everything needs to be in place so that we could safely do that, which is, of course, our last element, safety first. So now breaking it down by section under the health and safety umbrella related to facilities, intensifying our sanitizing, our disinfecting, and our routine cleaning. And that, of course, is a matter of following guidelines and recommendations. Increasing disinfectant frequently touched surfaces, particularly objects, shared objects. We've talked a lot about changing behaviors, knowing that our students, all their lives, we've told them to share. Now we're telling them not to share, right? So you got a lot of things, a lot of behaviors that we take for granted. We just do. We don't even think about them. Will need to change. Ensuring that our heating and air conditioning systems are well maintained and operating effectively and efficiently. Provide or install protective shields when social distancing is not achievable. Again, we know that space, social distancing, and protection, be it face coverings or shields, are the most effective ways to keep the spread of disease. So clearly we want to be able to be in a position where we're able to facilitate that happening. And then install COVID-19 safety signage. So a lot of signage all over the campus, just directing children, directing adults to make sure that everyone is doing their share. This is a collective thing. Everyone recognizes that. We're in this together, and we have to work together to make this work. To continue with health and safety, the signage that was repeated, we covered that one. Provide and install hand sanitizer in every classroom, conference room, library, computer lab, and main administration office. Obviously, where there's likely to be more people, we'll have more services. Work with site administrators to identify at least one isolation room and restroom to isolate students and staff that have symptoms. And then preparing a plan for cleaning and disinfecting in the event of a confirmed or suspected case at the facility. So again, these are all undergirding the work that we're doing as it relates specifically to the facilities. Related to students, staff, and our visitors, people visiting campus, teach and reinforce hand washing, avoiding contact. So things that we all know about, but with children specifically, obviously, we have to reinforce that and be very, very active, very, very proactive in helping our children, those some of whom may not be in that habit. So again, it's a matter of changing habits. Obviously, some people touch their face more. It's just right. It's just kind of who they are, right? I mean, uh, we do, and you're not even thinking about it. So how do we begin to help retrain our children? Um, just a quick story on that. I remember when my son, and hopefully he's not listening, but when he was in kindergarten, he had a habit of putting his fingers in his mouth when he got comfortable and relaxed. Then the teacher had a little code with him. So she'd remind him because he didn't want to be sucking on his fingers in class. So she had a little way of getting a message to him. It's going to be a lot of things like that, which is why some of the discussions around looping or keeping students with their teachers from last year is being had in a variety of places because they have relationships with the kids. They know the kids well, and they may have a better chance of being able to help children when it comes to some of those habits that they know they need to change. Implementing distancing inside and outside the classroom to the greatest extent possible. Obviously, that depends on what model, how many kids are in the room. Check daily for signs and symptoms. Excuse me. So, taking temperatures. What does that look like? Provide training for families for best practice and intensify those communications, knowing once again that we need to continue to message our families and we need everyone on board, everyone pulling their weight to make sure that we're able to continue to keep our schools open and thriving and everyone healthy. Engage staff in professional development to learn how to identify symptoms and concerns and refer students to services. Elementary teachers already got this down, but some of us secondary folks may need a little more work with that. But nonetheless, we'll continue to help prepare our staff because we want them comfortable, obviously. We don't want anybody worried or nervous or anxious. Right? That doesn't lend itself to teaching or working with kids. So we need everyone comfortable. Work closely with the Riverside County and state authorities to continue to monitor disease levels. So once again, I showed a timeline earlier, but the truth is that we're on the COVID timeline. I think we all recognize that. Continuing on, students, staff, and visitors utilizing a universal screener for early identification. That's everything from health to social emotional needs, academic needs, you name it. But having a universal screener, TSS model, to ensure that we identify children as soon as we can, which is immediate, to start providing those services. Our staff did such a wonderful job. Our counselors communicated with our families over the last few months. So I'm confident we're going to be able to transition seamlessly when it comes to that as well. Increase communication related to stigmatizing behaviors. All right, some kids may not think it's cool to wear a mask. Of course, we're going to ask families to wear a mask likely, but that remains to be seen what the law is at that point and what best practices are at that point, because it's obviously still 5 or 6 weeks down the road. But nonetheless, what about stigmatizing behaviors? What about kids being bullied perhaps, or in an uncomfortable position, or if a child tests positive for COVID? So how are we going to communicate all these things to our families and our children as well? Again, when I say everyone involved holding their own weight, that means our kiddos as well. One of the things we've learned from schools and countries that have reopened, this stuff's possible even with little kids, like littles, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, right? Just training. It's just a matter of repetition and continuing to support it. So we're confident with our team here, our staffs at our schools, that we're going to be able to really help our children do what they need to do to help all of us. Expand, provide, and communicate mental health and wellness services and resources. I'm going to talk a little bit about it later on in this presentation, but it's kind of the hive effect, right? It's that beehive thing. All of our service, a lot of people are committed to this work, and we all need to work together to make it work. And then limit sharing, as I talked earlier. So the idea that everyone shares computers, you got the cart next class. Well, you got to rethink that. We have a policy, 5141. That looks a little blurry to me, but I'm an old guy, even though my eyes are still pretty good. But I think it's a little blurry. But on the presentation that'll be available to the community, it's clear. We do have an infectious disease policy, so we're going to follow that policy, and that's the same policy. COVID is just one more infectious disease, so we've been utilizing this as well as we've been moving forward in the decision-making process as far as our task forces are concerned. And might we update this policy? Might we bring this policy to the board in the near future? We may very well, if in fact it's something that our council and others are suggesting would be in the best interest of our organization. Which, when I say in the best interest of our organization, I'm talking about kids. I'm talking about in the best interest of our kids, because that's what it amounts to. So we will utilize this policy, and again, this is all about ensuring that we are keeping our kids safe. Student supports. We're going to continue to strengthen our multi-tiered system of supports, which we are now 3 years into. It's a wonderful model. We've had it happening in our organization already, so the foundation's there. Sherry and Emily and their team done a wonderful job of getting this implemented, working with Ed West and Matt Novel from the State Board of Education, who's a friend of the districts. We've done some wonderful work in this area. This fits neatly into that pyramid because it's about providing additional services as necessary. Again, as I mentioned, universal screen all students immediately. Teachers, counselors, psychologists, other specialists work as a team to build an integrated plan for targeted assistance. So again, these are just elements of MTSS, and of course, professional development. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Hive effect of getting a consortium of support providers so that we're the best for all of our kids. We can't do everything. We need everyone out there contributing. And there's a lot of organizations that are very committed to this work. Attendance. There may or may not be new guidelines for attendance. Everyone knows we've talked about a year in and a year out about ADA and how schools are funded. But that's based on children coming to school. What if they don't come to school? What if they're doing distant learning? So we're waiting for all those guidelines, but we will, of course, follow whatever protocols are in place. Same thing with instructional time. We have to ensure that we are following all those laws. So as we are creating these models, we're still waiting to hear whether or not there might be any changes there as far as our ability to be able to safely deliver our educational program, but within the parameters of our school day, which is why it's so critical also that we continue to work with our associations and develop new attendance strategies, because it's a new normal. Our old strategies is different, so we got to develop new ones. We do have our student services group working very closely with our task force team that's focused on this, and then develop attendance improvement plans, because it's going to be, again, different than it was in the past. So how are we going to ensure, particularly our distance learners, are being accounted for? Okay, childcare and after-school programs. So clearly, people need to go back to work. We've heard from many of our families, we need to get back to work. We want our children in school, not just because we need to go back to work, because we want our children in school, and we want your children back in school. So how are we going to be able to safely provide our educational program and at the same time make sure that we're caring for our children? So we're looking closely at childcare, our after-school programs, both of whom are represented on our task force. So, of course, we have our after-school education and safety program through a state grant, but we realize a lot of families are looking for us to continue to provide childcare for their children, and we have every intention to figure out a way to do that. So we're working very closely with everyone on that, and this is another Hive effect, because there's others who do this work. But here's the big question everyone wants the answer to: what's it going to look like? What might school look like when we return? So let's go through some of those possibilities. So first and foremost, design an instructional program within the constraints imposed by the pandemic. So clearly, it's not as we know school to have been up until this time, but we all recognize that. This almost goes without saying. So here's the considerations that every organization is looking at as they move forward. First of all, the range of environments from the most restrictive, which would be what we've been in up until school ended for us on May 28th, which is full distance. No students are present. No one's present, period. Everything's remote. To limited restrictions, which is a combination of in-person and remote instruction, to the least restrictive environment, which is, of course, full in-person instruction, which there are districts that have come out and committed to that, but there's always a little disclaimer underneath that says, yeah, it's to the extent we're able to do that, given public health concerns. So again, and there's a lot of things in between those, not quite as limited or not quite as restrictive, and so on and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit about what some of those things might look like. The overarching design principle, I mentioned this earlier, and I'll mention it again. And I'll probably mention it about 1,000 more times over the course of the next few months as we're working on this. What we design, we're going to get. So if we are able to design a model that takes the safety precautions and all the considerations into consideration, and it's able to be practiced effectively, then I believe we will really be able to continue to deliver an instructional program that everyone will be happy about while we continue to move through this very, very challenging and unprecedented time in our country and the world's history, for that matter. So again, what we design is going to speak to the challenges that we're trying to address. Specifically, those principles, again, close collaboration between the district leadership and our employee groups, because everything we do, we move forward with our team. Obviously, everyone needs to be comfortable, as I mentioned. Everybody needs to be pulling this cart in the same direction. When we talk about the organization, it's everyone. When we talk about moving forward, it's everyone. Use the most current guidance. Every aspect of the school day must be rethought. Also, I mentioned earlier, when kids are coming in the morning, we don't want everyone clustered in the morning, all coming at the same time. How do we stagger that in a way that we're able to take kids' temperatures, for example, to not have a large number of kids all congregating at the same time, all the kids out there in the playground before school starts, for example. Every single aspect of the school day we have to rethink. And then equity-based scheduling, taking into account the diverse learning models, languages, and the living situations of our students. Again, we know that there's situations where you have large families, for example, and sometimes there's a lot of responsibilities within families. We have children whose first language is not English, or who have other obstacles that make it even more of a challenge. How are we going to address those needs? Again, when we look at equity, we look at all children, because the exceptional learner has special needs as well. Children who are accelerated, children who are right now looking at that application to a university next year. Everyone's needs have to be met. So how do we do that? Well, we ask ourselves these questions, and our task force go about trying to answer them. How will we support students who have been disproportionately impacted by school closure? How will the needs of students who are most significantly impacted by shelter in place and those who may not be able to provide home support, tech access, or a quiet place to work be met? Regarding communications, how do we ensure we have provided information in various languages and through various channels to ensure information is shared to all with opportunities for feedback? Is it two directional? I will add that we are recording this, and when I send this out, it will be in both our primary languages as well, interpreted for all of our families. And everything's two directional now, Albert. I get emails constantly from all of our families and staff. When you go to our website, you have an opportunity to ask questions, and we're in the process of also creating a new FAQ based on all of these questions that'll be related to school reopening. Regarding assessment, how do we intentionally disaggregate data for all subgroups to uncover potential pockets of greater need? So again, we always talk about our app Promise Youth, but it's much more than that. We want to make sure that all of our children, particularly those that we feel may have been at a disadvantage over the course of the last few months. By the time we reopen school, it'll be 6 months. So how do we assess, and how do we drill down to the granular level to make sure that we are covering all of our children? Trauma-informed social emotional learning. How do we identify ways in which equity, social emotional learning, and academic development could reinforce each other rather than being pursued separately? So how are we able to integrate a lot of these concepts and ideas? The assumption also being on this that many more children will have issues coming in because of 6 months out of school. Building capacity. How do we plan and prepare staff to develop culturally responsive strategies as we toggle between emergency response to intentional distance and hybrid learning? In other words, we have to be prepared and build the capacity at a moment's notice to be ready should the conditions change and we have to move to a different model. For our English learners, how do we gain a greater understanding of culture and elevate home languages to honor our families and improve the parent and caregiver connection to school as students spend more time learning from home? So again, that's been one of the national stories, which is this inequity related to home learning. Our children with disabilities. How do we leverage technology and remote learning in ways that ensure equity is not equality? A lot of people confuse those terms, so we need to ensure that that is not the case. And that goes for all of our learners. For support programs, I've talked about the Hive Mentality. How do we create that? And we already have all kinds of relationships with the people. We created the equity and access position that Georgina Ramirez is going to begin July 1 under Dr. Kemp in the Ed Services Office. Student services, great relationships with our community. So we're going to continue to build this Hive Mentality so that we can leverage the many providers who are out there doing the same work. They have the same mindset we have. Back to the considerations, and I'm putting this on again only because we're now going to talk about what some of these options might look like. As it relates to K-5, and I'm going to ask Dr. Kemp to ready herself to share this part of the presentation with me. So K-5 model, whether it's all students, half students, a third of students present on any given day. Obviously, we need to meet the instructional requirements. We need to cohort our students and our families, reduce class size to the greatest extent possible, assuming there's going to be remote learning on days students are not present, again, dependent upon the model. Childcare and after-school programs, and then all the specialty programs that we want to continue to support as well. Dr. Kemp, if you want to share the screen with me right now. You see draft up there. It is a draft, and it might be hard to see anyway because it's a little bit small. These are just examples, things that we're seeing in a lot of different places, a lot of different school districts. And amongst the possibilities as we continue to work with our employee groups to find the perfect model for Alvord. We don't want to pick up someone's model. We're going to create our own based on the great work that others are doing as well, but specific to our children to our families, to our community. Dr. Kemp, if you want to talk a little bit about this model.
Sure. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I just would like to say that as we are developing our Alvord Unified School District models, we will be in collaboration with our unions and our teachers to make sure that it's the best fit for everyone. So what you see right here is our elementary online distance learning model. And this will look very different than what we had to do in the spring when we had to, shut down overnight. So one of the big differences that you will see in this model is that it's very highly structured. So the day is actually broken down by the hour, and the day is a mixture of live teaching with your teacher, of engaging learning activities, even creative brain breaks for our kiddos because we know that they need to move around in order to learn. There are also office hours available, and what that is it's an opportunity for students and their parents to log on with the teacher and ask individual questions and get one-on-one help. So that is a big change from what we had to do in the spring. And also we are making a commitment to provide support for our parents because we know that it's very difficult to do this at home. And so we are going to teach our parents along with our students. So we're definitely committed to doing that. Are we on the hybrid one now?
So so this is just the rest of the schedule. And again, I apologize for the fact that it may not be easy to see, but again, this will be available as soon as our board meeting ends tonight, and we'll go ahead and get this information out to everyone this weekend as well. Okay, so here's another example.
There you go. Perfect. Okay, and so the next one is the hybrid, and as you know, the importance of hybrid is that we're actually dividing our students in half, 50%, so that we have half the number of students on campus with us, therefore decreasing their interactions and better enabling social distancing and allow us to follow those safety precautions. So with the hybrid, the students are split into 2 cohorts, and they're 2 days on campus with their teacher and 3 days off. And so 2 days on campus with their teacher, 50% of the students in the classroom, they're receiving their regular instruction with their teacher, they're interacting with their peers, socially distancing, of course, and so they're getting all of that, regular feeling like a normal student. Then 2 days, the other 2 days, they have distance learning activities which will build upon what they've learned in the classroom. They will also have their virtual music program during these days and probably will have their physical education during that time. One of the days is reserved, again, for office hours, and so there's a set period of time where students and their parents can log on with their teachers and get that one-on-one support, intervention, perhaps get English language learner support, special ed support, any type of supports we need, we're reserving a space for that.
Right. So again, as we move through the presentation, it again is with the particular environments that we may face. We don't know what it's going to be like in August, obviously. So when we talk about having a least restrictive environment, just full school as we knew it before COVID, or some degree of it, to the most restrictive, which is fully online. So we are planning, of course, to have the variety of models available depending on the conditions at that time. Once again, always ready and prepared in the event things change. We're not missing a beat. The secondary model, very similar, with instructional minutes, cohorting students, again, doing whatever we can to follow the guidelines that keep the spread of disease and keep children and staff safe. Same thing with the 9-12 model. So really, it could be a 6-12 model because we're looking at the secondary model in a very similar way. So Dr. Kemp, you want to talk a little bit about what that might look like?
Absolutely. So if we're looking at the online distance learning for secondary school, again, the big difference is going to be that it's highly structured. As you know, our secondary schools are periods 1 through 6. So we may have a day where you could have periods 1 through 6, or you can have a day where you have block scheduling, which gives more time to the teachers and students to interact. So what block scheduling would be for us would be one day you have periods 1 through 3, the next day you have periods 4 through 6 at your specific times. And so that really gives more opportunity for the teachers to do that live learning, and then to do their guided activities, to do independent practice. And so that would be 4 days a week. And then again, we would have one day set aside that we would have office hours at scheduled times per content level. So a student would actually have the opportunity to receive intervention and support in all of their subject areas if they need it, or they could just go to, biology or math or whatever they need, right? So that support is there for them. If we move along to the hybrid model for secondary, again, you want to split the school into 2 cohorts, so you're cutting down on the number of students that are on campus. And then we also probably would want to look at block scheduling again for this, because then you are decreasing the number of interactions students are having. So again, you have 2 days a week on campus, 2 days a week off campus. So a student would have periods 1 through 3 one day, and then 4 through 6 the next day. And then you would have 2 days off campus where, again, you're doing your learning activities. And with secondary, you're going to have a lot more probably videos, and maybe the teacher will film themselves teaching, because, you have AP calculus, you have to continue on with that learning. So it will depend on what the rigor of the course is, but you will have that. And again, we will have that one day of office hours that is so important that the students can log on with their teacher and get that individualized support.
So
those are just models.
So on the block schedule, typically you see 6 periods worth of children every day, 180 children. So instead you'll see 90 every day. So obviously you see fewer students see fewer of each other. Therein is a very, very positive way of helping to keep children safe. However, it's not like it's just, okay, start teaching in block schedules like it's easy. It's a whole new different type of teaching, and will require professional development. I know our teachers are able to do, because we have an incredible teaching staff, but it's not easy. It's not like you don't do 2 days of lessons in one day. It's a different approach to instruction. There's things you could do in a block where you have half, for example, that you couldn't do in 50 minutes. So it's a whole new paradigm shift, and we'll of course have to provide our staff with all the professional development they need to confidently deliver that program. When we broke for March 13th closure, our teachers were practically fending for themselves. We did a great job early on in getting Google training and providing a lot of internal support, but boy, everybody did put things together. That's what teachers do. They put things together, they get it done. Now we have time, obviously, to plan. Then we had 2 weeks. Now we have a couple months. So obviously we started this process, we're continuing this process, and once we get these pieces in place, once again, knowing that may look different August 10th, we may have every intention of plan A, but we're going to be using plan C. We got to be ready with plan C. Thank you, Dr. Kemp.
You're welcome.
Teaching and learning in a blended model. Once again, this is something that we are also providing, continually providing professional development. And this is one of the silver linings that you'll hear people who are talking about silver linings of everything that's happened. And I mean, it's nice to look at the glass half full, especially given all these challenges. And of course, one of the things everyone talks about is technology, that perhaps we will finally realize the promise of technology. So many teachers obviously have now added that to their repertoire. We're learning that, even younger children could learn that way. We just have to be very intentional about it. So the hope is that we're going to be able to continue to perfect this model so that our families could feel confident that, yes, it's a distant model. Yes, it's not ideal, but it's a crisis. That's the reality. It's a crisis. So how could we do what we need to do as best we can under those circumstances with the restrictions and still continue to move our children forward? So that's the challenge we face, and we'll continue to provide support. So we already have Odyssey learning program that we utilize. As we discussed, as Dr. Kemp just talked about, the hybrid instructional model, but also a homeschool model. There's homeschool models out there that people are talking about. So we've also begun investigating. Mr. Shiflett at the Alternative Education Center has already visited a very successful model, and we're looking at the possibility of how we might be able to have a model that would capture a different family. This would address another need of a family because it's just a different way to approach distant learning. Next steps. The task force recommendations will be brought to the board on July 9th, and we'll have a study session. So we certainly hope everyone will be able to join us for that. At that point, we'll determine, the school board will decide whether or not they want to do additional sessions. And at that time also determine a date so that families are ready and could prepare, because everyone's anxious and want to know. As a staff, we're planning for them all. So obviously we need to have all those pieces in place. So as far as moving forward with our employee groups and preparing professional development and all that, we're preparing for all of them. And I have every expectation that we might see all of them. Who knows? Anyone's guess is as good as mine. Nothing expert about this. It's a timeline we have no control over. But at that point, obviously families need to know and make plans. So that's why that childcare piece is so critical that I mentioned earlier. We're going to take care of your kids. It's as simple as that. Whatever the model is, we're going to take care of your kids. So families could rest assured that your children are going to be in a safe environment and that we're going to be able to care for them. Whatever part of schooling we're going to be able to deliver, we're going to safely deliver. And then, of course, the last step, continue to work with our labor partners, because obviously that's the people doing the work. We're up here talking about it. They're doing the work. And that's not lost on any of us here. So for questions, email the number 2, superintendent@alvarezschools.org. Families, if you have not completed the survey yet, please do. There's surveys out for every group right now. Please complete those. Our parent survey, which is a family survey, we realize and expect that they're talking with their children, particularly younger children. We're closing in on 30% of our families, so we'd love to have an even larger sample. Might there be another survey in the next couple of weeks when things change? There may be. So I appreciate everyone staying tuned, following us on our weekly message that I send out. I will continue to send that out. Look for the FAQ related to reopening and continuity of learning. I'll announce that. Hopefully that'll be available as of this weekend, so we could start addressing some of the questions likely that are coming from this particular presentation. So with that, Madam President, that is my report.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Muzzarino and Dr. Kemp. Wow, there's just so much, and you guys have worked so hard in such a little bit of time, and we thank you so much, and we look forward to all the dates, and it looks like we're going to be able to offer our students and our parents and our families some really good options, and still keep their safety and their well-being and their education still top-notch, which they're so used to receiving from Alvord. So thank you very much, and thank you for your teams. I know it's just not the 2 of you, but your entire teams. So thank you very much.
Well, absolutely. It's everyone. And the task force, of course, has representatives from all groups, parents, students, both employee groups. So no, this is a team effort. But as I mentioned, This is everyone's effort. This is everyone doing their share, everyone doing their part, whether it's taking temperatures at home before children leave, whether it's really reinforcing those good hygiene guidelines, all of the things. It's going to take all of us, every bus driver, every staff member, every single person. That's why it's a crisis, and it's going to take everyone to solve this. But we will solve this problem and continue to move forward. And our families have been wonderful. The feedback has been wonderful that I've received and that most of us have received. But we recognize that there's a lot of challenges that many of our families are facing, some more so than others. And we're doing our best to provide everything for everyone. And we're to continue to try. And it won't be for lack of effort, I could assure you that.
Well, thank you. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much, Dr. Miserino. We appreciate that. Okay, with that, we're going to go on to board comments. And we will start with, it looks like Miss Marino's ready. So she's looking at me. So we're going to start with Mrs. Marino.
As I struggle to unmute, thank you.
Yes.
I definitely echo your sentiment, President Wilson. Great job, wonderful information, and I look forward to continuing these conversations as things continue to move forward. So appreciate all of you. I would like to celebrate. There's been some really great things that have happened. I know that we focus a lot about the COVID-19 and how we've struggled, but some really great things have happened. Today, the Greater Riverside Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, along in partnership with Northgate Market, celebrated and honored one of our La Sierra High School graduating seniors, Reina Silva, and presented her with a $1,000 scholarship. So I'm so excited for Reina, as well as couldn't be more grateful for the partnership between the Greater Riverside Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Northgate Market. They both have been wonderful partners with Alvord and continue to want to do so. So I'm very grateful to them and congratulate Reina. As well as I'd like to mention and share a great appreciation with the City of Riverside, because they have launched the 25 Remarkable Teams here in Riverside. And I am excited to share that of the 25, Alvord has 6 students represented in that pool. That's exciting. So I did want to thank them, but also just give a shout out to those remarkable teams. So from La Sierra High School, we have Luis Chavez, Mario Coria, Nathan Gomez, and Tanya Magnan, as well as from Norte Vista High School, Jasmine Patino and Asiel Mendoza. Yeah. So, just congratulations to them. Such an honor and such an amazing program that the city puts on in conjunction, I believe, with the police department as well. I also would just like to mention and just take a moment to reflect as we're closing out this school year, right? The last board meeting of this calendar year. Wonderful things have happened in our district, and the way that we've bound together to continue to do what's best for our students and keep our employees also in the forefront of every decision we do. I'd like to thank our amazing team and staff and all of our Alvord families who have come together and just been remarkable about the way that they support us, constantly, giving emails, taking these surveys, sharing their thoughts. It really reminds me of my own parent days, right? And PTO and PTA days here in the district, where you always knew that Alvord cared to hear what you had to say. And through this pandemic, that hasn't stopped. So I really would like to just give again my heartfelt gratitude to the most amazing staff, families, and students that any district could possibly have. Lastly, I'd like to continue to encourage our families, especially our students, because that survey just went out yesterday. We need to hear from you. Those are the bodies that are going to be inside of our chairs, and we want to know what you have to say. Your voice truly matters to us, and I really encourage you all to do it. And I just thank Alan and Cabinet for working so hard to make sure that their voices are heard. And to Myra and to Annabelle, our superintendent and board staff, thank you through this crazy time to always make sure that we as a board have the information that we need to continue to serve our community and our students. And that's it.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Moreno. Wonderful. You always say such eloquent things. Thank you. Mr. Schwandt.
Yes, well, Julie does say eloquent things, and
Yes, she
usually
does.
captures everything I'm going to say. So just real quick, we heard the presentation from our superintendent, Alan Musarino, and how much detail is in there and what's being looked at. And we meet as a board at least once a week, most times 2 times a week, discussing updates, what we can do, where we're going, where we're headed. And Alan and the staff have been able to provide us the information we've been asking for. So I would hold them up as a lighthouse or a beacon within our region on how to deal with the COVID-19 and the work that they've done. So thank you very much. Appreciate
Absolutely. Yay.
Now, when you're working with something like a pandemic and all of this, it creates an uncertainty. There's going to be change. And with those comes a lot of stress. So the best way to counter that stress is through direct communications that we can get out to our students, our staff, and our community and our parents. And that's what we've been able to do. So thank you again for doing that. And just the number one thing, I would leave it to everybody listening, and to Alan touched on it, safety is going to be the number one thing that I personally looked at, and what we're looking at from a board perspective. It's not just our students going back to the school for safety, but it's our employees too that are dealing with all the students. So safety will be the number one, and we'll take care of those students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwandt. Wonderful, wonderful words. Miss Vega.
Hello, everyone. 2 quick things. One of them is, I forgot to mention in our last meeting, Happy Pride Month. I didn't want to forget about that. And then 2 is, I didn't think anyone mentioned it yet, but the city is also presenting our very own Zach Earp with the City's Spirit Award for the next council meeting. So congratulations to Zach Earp. You know, I'll be excited to see him there to accept the award. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Vega. And Dr. Gerardo.
Thank you, Carolyn. So as well as this school year comes to a conclusion at the final board meeting of the month here in July, I do want to say that I understand that mental health and safety and just people's how nervous people might feel. I know here at home, you know, having Riverside County be on the watch list, and as we look closely with the direction that we're heading with this pandemic, I just want to assure you that there's people at the district level that have been working, like Mr. Schwandt has mentioned. We meet weekly, bi-weekly. There's a lot of work and effort that is being put to make sure that our families, people returning back to our campuses are going to be safe. Something that I don't know if we highlighted it, but I thought it was very special when I heard about it the first time. Mr. Kevin had brought it to our attention a couple months ago that our district had invested into this Clorox Total 360 electrical sprayer. And I just feel such a pride that our district made that commitment so early on. And we have locked those in. I'm pretty sure that we have districts all over the state looking to get their hands on items. I want to let you know our district is doing at a district level is ensuring that we have equipment ready to go, regardless of what model we choose. as we presented it today. So I want to put that out there for our families that are still kind of waiting. I know we're taking a little bit longer, but I'm ensuring you that we want to get your feedback through these wonderful surveys that have been put out. And we want to make sure we make the final and best decision. That's why we're taking time. But because that decision is taking time, it doesn't mean there's work and effort being put in on the ground, right? We're locking in equipment. So I just want you to know that if you're thinking, is Alvord the district for me in the fall? It's a wonderful place to be. Alvord is, because we've locked in things like these Clorox that will spread. It's locked in for each site at the district level. So I'm just really proud if you choose to be in Alvord for next school year. So that's what I wanted to add. And thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Dorado. Thank you. I'm always since I'm the last one, I have nothing left. But you know me, I always find something. So again, I just want to compliment our staff, superintendent. You guys have done phenomenal things. And like everybody says, we meet once or twice a week. Being the board president, I have the privilege of speaking to the superintendent at least once a day, and we speak, maybe a couple more times. So I probably get a little bit more information. And I have to tell you, and I speak to Dr. Kemp and everybody else as well. There's a lot of sleepless nights going on in our district, and it's because of how much they care about you guys out there, our students, our families, our communities. You all know that you're number one in our hearts. The minute we wake up in the morning, especially now in this pandemic, other than our own families, you guys are that much, you're very important to us, and we think about you all the time. And I'll tell you, I have never been really big on social media and things like that, but right now I'm trolling, that's the word I'm learning, and things like that, because I want to know everything. And I'm probably driving our staff absolutely crazy, because I do want to know. I want to know what's the best thing for our students, and so does the board. We are always collaborating. If there isn't a meeting going on, I guarantee you one or two of us board members are talking or texting at least once a day to each other regarding the safety and the welfare of the students that will be coming back in August, no matter how it looks. But I also want to thank, because I really do want to thank everybody that has reached out to me, the families, the teachers, the parents, the students, everybody that says, Carolyn, I want you to hear me, and I want you to know that I'm always listening. And I really do appreciate every single phone call, every single email, text, and I get back to you because I really do want to know what's important to you. Your voice, I've said it on Facebook because that's my only platform. So, but your voice does matter. It absolutely does matter. Take the surveys. And it's very interesting when somebody will call me. There's a teacher that calls me every couple days, and she knows that I keep bugging poor Dr. Kemp about, tell me what the survey, tell me, give me how many people have done it, how many this and that, because I want to be updated on the survey all the time. And the student survey has already received great feedback. I mean, they have, and so I'm constantly asking. But people are calling and checking in on us to make sure we're hearing them and we're listening to them, and we are. And you guys, it's again, there's 5 of us, but we know there's 1,800 students and families that we're responsible for, and your safety, your education, your well-being, we don't take that lightly. And we are thinking about you every single day. And I've said this before, we keep you in our prayers. We know we watch the television, we watch the numbers, and we are watching every single step, and we are doing this in the forefront of just thinking of you guys and our Albert family. You mean so much to us, and we will do this right. I don't think we're going slow, but I guess we are. I'm glad we didn't jump the gun, because I really want to know everything before I make a decision. And that is, number one, hearing from you what is best for you. And then I will be able to share it with the rest of the board. So please continue to contact me. I appreciate it. I'm open to it. And like I always say, Albert family is the amazing family, and you've given so much to me and my own family. So I know that this district is incredible, and I am so proud to be a part of it, and I'm so proud to be a part of this group working so hard during this pandemic, because it is a scary time. But it always seems when you get off the phone with them, you feel a little bit more confident that we're doing the right thing and we can get through this. And there's always that light at the end of the tunnel. So please stay safe, everyone. Stay healthy. We love you and we care about you and we think about you daily. So always know that you're in the forefront of our thoughts and our hearts every single day. So again, to our staff and everybody, thank you. Dr. Muzzarino, everybody, thank you so much. With that, Dr. Muzzarino, would you like to make some comments, or are you all talked out? Oh wait, you have to unmute.
Well, thank you, Madam President. Surely you can't be serious. Am I talked out? But actually, I've said plenty. I did want to make a comment because Trustee Marino said it reminded her of her parent days. Well, Julie, you're still a parent as far as I could tell, because you just happen to have 18,500 children now. But my point is that we look through the lens of parents. We look through the lens of our families and our community. So again, we're being deliberate. We're not behind schedule. Our neighboring districts, one, of course, we do know that Corona made a decision already, but Harupa and Riverside unified on about the same timeline, looking at the first or second week in July, and most districts are. And besides, as I mentioned, those who have committed have that disclaimer with it to the extent possible, which is why we're preparing all the models. But yeah, we are looking through the lens of our children, of our families, of our community. And that's important because there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And first and foremost, and I just want to reiterate that we need everyone on board. We need everyone on board, pulling in the right direction to get through this. And I'm confident that we'll be able to come out the other end and be better because of it. So with that, Madam President, I am finished with my comments.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marino. Dr. Marino now, Dr. Muzzarino. Sorry about that.
We just got married.
Yeah, there you go. You know, we always say we're an Albert family. There we go. There we go.
I might have some explaining to do to my poor husband, right?
Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike. I love it. Okay, with that, we're going to go on to the consent agenda. Your superintendent recommends approval of the consent agenda items 8A1 through 8E6. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted upon by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a second? Oh, thank you very much. All right, is there any discussion? Okay, with that, with no discussion, I'm going to go for a vote. Mr. Schwandt.
Aye.
Ms. Marino.
Aye.
Dr. Dorado. Aye. Ms. Vega.
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson. Aye. All right. With that, we're going to go to actions taken in closed session. Dr. Dorado will be doing the readouts.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. So for this evening, the Alvord Unified District Board of Education is pleased to announce that in closed session, we took action to appoint Heather Goodwin.
Woohoo! Here comes Promenade!
Oh, that's
Yes.
wonderful.
To the position of elementary school principal for Promenade Elementary School. This contract will be effective July 1st, 2020. The salary placement will be determined at a later date. The salary will be adjusted to reflect any salary adjustment equal to other managers during the term of this agreement. Salaries shall be assigned to the management salary schedule pursuant to board policy. We took a vote. It was 5-0 to appoint. The motion was made by Wilson, and it was seconded by Moreno.
Congratulations, Heather!
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for the opportunities to support Promenade.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love it.
Before I conclude, we also wanted, we did take further action. The board extended the contract for Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Bob Presby, through June 30th of 2023. The vote was 5-0. The motion was made by Mr. Slant. It was seconded by Mrs. Wilson.
Congratulations, Bob. Oh,
Thank you.
There he is.
Thank you.
The board also extended the contract for Assistant Superintendent Educational Services, Dr. Sherry Kemp, through June 30th of 2023. The vote was 5-0. The motion was made by Mrs. Moreno and seconded by Mrs. Wilson. Congratulations.
Sherry.
Hey, Dr. Kemp.
Lastly, the board took action in closed session to also extend the contract for Chief Business Officer, Business Services, Justine Navitt, through June 30th, 2023. The vote was 5-0, and the motion was made by Mrs. Wilson, and it was seconded by Mr. Schwann. That concludes our.
Thank you.
Yay, Dusty.
Thank you.
All right. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Muzzarino. and he will be welcoming Ms. Heather Goodwin.
You're muted, Alan.
And that was something very profound I just said. No, you guys missed that. I'll try to say something profound again. Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate that. And congratulations, Dusty, Bob, Sherry. Excited about the stability that you've brought here to our cabinet. We also have in the room another member of our team, and that's Dr. DeVore. Hello, Emily.
Hello, Emily. Welcome.
Emily is here to support Principal Goodwin. Heather, congratulations.
Yay!
So I have some information here to share with everyone, so we all could get to know Heather, and our community get to know Heather a little better. So Heather is entering her 20th year as an educator. She began her career in Albert, teaching kindergarten at RMK. And she was selected by a principal, Joy Human, who was a former teacher at Promenade. So a little Promenade connection. Of course, Heather is currently an assistant principal there. After 8 years in the classroom, she moved to Stoco as a project specialist and an instructional coach. She transitioned to the district in 2013 and was a teacher on special assignment, working as an instructional specialist and a lead coach. And then she also served as an interim director of assessment from 17 to 18, was in that position when I joined the district, actually, before joining Gerardo at McAuliffe as an assistant principal. And this year, as I mentioned, she's been at Promenade and also with Carrymont at Lake Hills. Heather comes from a family of educators. Her father worked as a teacher and was a principal of an elementary school that she actually attended and retired as a director of curriculum and instruction in New York, where Heather was born. Her mother worked as a speech and language pathologist and retired as a director of special education for La Mesa Spring Valley School District. Growing up, Heather was very close to her maternal grandmother, Anne, and spent a great deal of time with her Aunt Mary, who had Down syndrome. So she witnessed firsthand the power of high expectations and individualized support, and those continue to be her foundational beliefs as an educator. Like me, Heather is a New Yorker, although from upstate New York, but she did move to San Diego, I believe, at a young age, and graduated from Mount Miguel High School and then went to San Diego State. has a BS in kinesiology, a master's in cross-cultural teaching with a specialization in curriculum and instruction. I know she brings an incredible amount of instructional leadership that is the hallmark of leadership in Alvord. She also holds a multiple subject teacher credential, but also has supplements for science with that BS in kinesiology and also PE. And of course, she has her administrative service credential. Here's what Heather had to say when we asked her about this opportunity. She said, the challenges in education today are many, and I am very fortunate to have been given a school staff and families that are extremely student-centric. I'm eager to work collaboratively to meet the needs of all students, and I look forward to leading Team Promenade as we collectively grow and rise above the challenges that lie ahead. So with that, Principal Goodwin, welcome.
Yes, welcome. We are so excited to have you. Welcome.
So I have to say, your timing is excellent, Heather, because, just normal stuff going on. It's just kind of exciting time to become a new principal. So you're going to be able to make a mark early on in your career here as a principal. So congratulations. And of course, Heather's a friend of our district. We know her well. So we're really happy for her and excited for the work that she's going to do. Dr. DeVore, would you like to share anything?
Hi, good evening. I just want to formally welcome Heather to the administrative team. I've known Heather for a number of years, and I'm excited to work with her in this capacity. The Promenade staff spoke very highly of Mrs. Goodwin, and I know that they're excited to have her on the team. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much. So excited for the opportunity and really to work with such a great group of teachers and staff and families at Promenade.
It's wonderful. Okay. Wonderful. Very excited. Very excited. Looking forward to that, Heather. It'll be lots of fun. Lots of fun.
Thanks, Carolyn.
All righty. Okay, well, congratulations with that. We're going to go on with the board meeting, and we're going to go to NB1, review and approve 2020-21 institutional membership. Woohoo, say that, Carolyn. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
There we go. Thank you. And is there discussion? Okay, with that, I'm going to call for a vote. Mr. Schwandt?
Aye.
Mrs. Marino?
Aye.
Dr. Dorado?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson? Aye. And now we're going to go to 9C1, conduct public hearing 2020 statutory school fees for residential and commercial/industrial construction. Okay, what we're going to do is I need to open for the hearing session, so I need a motion, please.
So moved.
So.
That's a first and a second. I'm going to vote. Mr. Schwandt?
Aye.
Marino?
Aye.
Dorado?
Aye.
Vega?
Aye.
And Wilson? Aye. And so with that, I need to do a hearing session as authorized by the Governor Newsom's Executive Order N2920, dated March 17, 2020. The Alvord Unified School District will conduct all meetings of the Board of Education via teleconference until further notice. The meetings will be live streamed via YouTube. Pursuant to Executive Order 2920, the Governing Board will take public comment. All public comments must be submitted in writing in advance of this meeting. Public comments were to be emailed to superintendent@alvordschools.org no later than 9 a.m. on June 25th, 2020. During the Governing Board meeting, written public comments received in a timely manner will be read for the Governing Board. Pursuant to the Board Bylaw 9323, public comment period will be limited to 20 minutes speaking time. Duplicate public comments will not be read during the meeting. However, all written public comments will be provided to the Governing Board in advance of this meeting. At this time, I'll ask Dr. Miserino, have we received any public comments for this public hearing?
We have not, Madam President.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I need a motion to close.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and then I'll have a vote. Mr. Schwandt?
Aye.
Ms. Marino?
Aye.
Ms. Dorado?
Aye.
Sorry, Dr. Dorado. Ms. Vega?
Aye.
And Ms. Wilson is an aye. Thank you very much. All righty. And so now we're going to go into voting for that. Okay, 9C2, adopt resolution number 56, approving the 2020 statutory school fees for new residential and commercial / industrial construction. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Okay, with that, I'm going to go to a vote, please. Mr. Schwant,
Aye.
Mrs. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Okay. Now we're going to go to 9D1, and it is award contract Gold Star Foods, Inc., district-wide. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, with that, I'll go to a vote. Mr. Schwant,
Aye.
Ms. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Thank you very much. 9D2, adopt resolution number 57, Driftwood Dairy, piggyback from 2020-21. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, with that, I'll, Mr. Schwant,
Aye.
Mrs. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. We'll go to 9D3, award contract Driftwood Dairy piggyback corporate agreement for 2020-21. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote. Mr. Schwant,
Aye.
Mrs. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
thank you. Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. All right. Now we will go to 9D4, adopt resolution number 58, Sunrise Produce piggyback agreement for 2020-21. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Okay, with that, we'll go to a vote. Mr. Schwant,
Aye.
Mrs. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Thank you very much. 9D5, award contract Sunrise Produce, district-wide. Do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Oh, we have lots of them. Pick whichever one you want, Myra. There you go. Is there any discussion? All right, with that, we'll go to a vote. Mr. Schwant,
Aye.
Mrs. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. We'll go to 9D6, approve authorized signatures for Union Bank account. Motion, please.
So moved.
There we go, first and a second. Are there any questions? All right, at this time, we'll go to a vote. Mr. Schwant,
Aye.
Mrs. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Now we'll go to 9D7, adopt operations written report. And we have a guest speaker here. I'm going to first call for a motion.
So
So
moved.
So moved.
Okay, we have several of them. And now we're going to ask Miss Emily DeVore to speak on this, this item.
Hello again.
Hello, welcome again.
Good evening, President Wilson, board members, Superintendent Mussolino, and Cabinet. I am here to share with you the operations written report. The operations written report is in response to the required executive order in 5620 dated April 22nd by Governor of California, Gavin Newsom. This order directs each LEA to develop an operations written report to be adopted by the Board of Education at the same meeting of the adoption of the annual budget. The intent of the report is to share with the school community the changes to program offerings our board has made in response to school closures to address COVID-19 emergency and major impacts of such closures on students and families, which shall include, at minimum, a description of how AUSD is meeting the needs of unduplicated pupils, how we are continuing to deliver high-quality distance learning opportunities, how we provide schools in a non-congregate setting, and the arrangement options for supervision of students during ordinary school hours. Each section was developed to be sufficiently succinct with less than 300 words per section per the guidance of the state template. The operations written report will be turned into the county office upon your approval, but does not need to be approved by the Riverside County Office of Education. Finally, per the executive order, the operations written report must be prominently displayed on the front page of our website. This document provides an overview of the work completed in the last few months, but does not provide the specifics of the details of the daunting work that has happened behind the scenes. So I want to provide a blanket statement of gratitude for all of Alvord Unified School District staff, community, and students who have ensured that we will be and will continue to be Alvord strong. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Emily. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any discussion or any questions for Emily?
Just a quick question, Emily. Has it already been put up on our website, or does it have to be approved here tonight, then go up?
Yeah, once that's approved here tonight, I will be sending it to Annabelle, and she will get that prominently on the front page.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that'll be in English and in Spanish as well.
Terrific. Thank you. All right. Is there any other questions? All right. With that, we're going to go to a vote. And again, thank Mrs. DeVore for being here with us this evening. Mr. Schwann.
Aye.
Mrs. Marino.
Aye.
Dr. Dorado. Aye. Ms. Vega.
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson. Aye. All right. Thank you very much. 9D8, adopt resolution number 59, authorization to increase district's revolving cash account. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions for Dusty, who just appeared? Hello, Dusty.
Hello.
Any questions? All right. With that, thank you for popping in. With that, we're going to go to a vote. Mr. Schwann.
Aye.
Mrs. Marino.
Aye.
Dr. Dorado. Aye. Ms. Vega.
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. All right. And with that, we're going to go to 9D9, adopt resolution number 60, temporary loan between funds for fiscal year 2020 and 21. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a first and a second. Are there any questions for Dusty? Okay, with that, we're going to go to a vote. Mr. Schwann.
Aye.
Ms. Marino.
Aye.
Dr. Dorado. Aye. Ms. Vega.
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Okay. All right, guys. Now we're going to go back to I'm going to open up for a 910D, conduct public hearing for the 2021 adopted budget. Okay. In accordance with the California Education Code section 42103 and 42127, on or before July 1st of each year, the board shall, 1, hold a public hearing on a budget to be adopted for the subsequent fiscal year, and 2, adopt a budget subsequent to the public hearing. Furthermore, the budget and the support documentation must be available for the public inspection at least 3 days working prior to the public hearing. Okay, at this time, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Oh, thank you. And now I'm going to have a vote to open. Mr. Schwann.
Aye.
Ms. Marino.
Aye.
Dr. Dorado. Aye. Ms. Vega.
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson. Aye. All right, I'm opening the public comment as authorized by Governor Newsom's Executive Order N2920, dated March 17th, 2020, the Alvord Unified School District will conduct all meetings of the governing board via teleconference until further notice. The meetings will be live streamed via YouTube. Pursuant to the Executive Order N2920, the governing board will take public comment. All public comments must be submitted in writing in advance of this meeting. Public comments were to be emailed to superintendent@alvordschools.org no later than 9 a.m. on June 25th, 2020. During the governing board meeting, written public comments received in a timely manner will be read for the governing board. Pursuant to the board bylaws 9323, public comment period will be limited to no more than 20 minutes speaking time. Duplicate public comments will be read during the meeting, will not be read during the meeting. However, all written comments will be provided to the governing board in advance of this meeting. Dr. Muserino, do we have any comments or written comments for the 2020-21 adopted budget opening hearing?
We do not, Madam President.
Well, thank you very much. With that,
Yeah, my part's a lot easier than your part.
yeah. Please switch parts next time. Okay. With that, I'm going to close the public comments. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Julie. Do I have a second? Did I hear Robert?
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. With that, we're going to go to Mr. Schwant for a vote to close the public
Aye.
comment. Mrs. Moreno?
Aye.
Dr. Dorado? Aye. Ms. Vega?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Okay, with that, 9D11, we will go to adopt 2020-21 Alvord Unified School District budget. And I'm going to, there she is. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hold on one second. I'm going to ask for a motion, please.
So moved.
And then I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dusty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, good evening, President Wilson, board members, Superintendent Muserino, cabinet, and audience. It's my honor to present my very first full budget for Alvord Unified School District for board approval.
All right.
Let me see if I can get this up here. Yay! All right. So I have mentioned many times to the board that budgets change on almost a daily basis. And that has been true as I have put together this document for you. I was fine tuning this presentation all the way up till about 3:30 today because we kept getting brand new information. So let me see if I can get this to go down. All right. So as you know, you are required to adopt an annual budget on or before June 30th. The county will then, once they get all the documents, they'll take 45 days to let us know if they approve the budget. There are several things that are part of this budget. Most important is you're seeing another 2019-20 estimate. So it is an update to the last several interim reports that you have received from me, as well as a 2021 adopted budget and a multi-year projection for the next 2 years, which are all requirements for the adoption of the budget. Because there have been so many changes and because we do not have a California state budget approved as of yet, that will happen tomorrow. I will be bringing back to you what we call a 45-day update. So if there are major revisions from the state budget as comparison to what I have put together for board approval today, we will come back to you for a revision to that budget so that you have all of the most and best information to come back and be able to make that assessment. So what I've done on here is let you know what the state budget is at this point and what I included in our adopted budget. So just in case you hear differing information, you know where I was. So my documentation had to be prepared about 3 weeks ago. And so some of it I just was not able to change in enough time with all of the new and different information. So the state budget looks like it's going to be a no COLA, but no cuts, so no deficit for LCFF, which is very good news for us. They are guaranteeing both funding levels at the 2019 as well as ADA, which for us we're already guaranteed because we're declining that prior year ADA, but it was very good to know that they weren't going to do anything with that. So I included in the adopted budget a zero COLA for all 3 of the years. And that's what you're seeing here. Cash deferrals, I have brought these up to you before. They actually have added another month now. We will be having a cash deferral of February of next year that won't be paid until 21-22 in November. And then our March, April, and May will not be paid until October, September, and August. Don't ask me why they're paying it backwards, but that's what it is. I only included the March, April, and May. I did not include that February. So that cash flow report will come back to you as part of that 45-day update. The federal learning loss funding for students with disabilities, so that is specifically for special education. I don't have dollars yet, so until we have a plan on how those are going to be spent and the conditions that are attached to those, I did not include it in this adopted budget. As soon as I have what those dollars are and work with Dr. Kemp and Paulina for special education on how those dollars will be able to be spent within the constraints and the timeline, we'll bring it back to you for board approval. There are 3 different pots of federal relief allocations that are in the most recent state budget. I have included a portion of 2 of them in both the estimated actuals and the adopted budget. So there's about 1.1 million as part of the 2019-20 estimated actuals, and that is for our increased cost for meal service for our families during this COVID and summer feeding. We receive about $3.55. The food itself costs $3.45, and then we have salary and benefits on top of that. So for all of the meals that have been actually served through May, it's about 1.1 million that we are short. And so I'm using some of those first allocation dollars. Additionally, 1.4 million has been included in the adopted budget because we were able to secure over 5,000 brand new Chromebooks. And so as we move towards the goal of one-to-one at the high school level, we'll be able to have that. So those are included in the adopted budget. The remaining dollars that we will receive, which could be anywhere from 10 million to 14 million, depending upon the calculation and the final determination of the budget, does need to have a plan put together by September. And so Dr. Kemp and Dr. DeVore and I will be very, very busy trying to figure out how we're going to spend these dollars in 6 months' time and know what we're going to do in another 2 months or 3 months. So we'll be bringing something back to you in September on that as well. The state budget is indicating that they will restore the program cuts that they told us they would have for our career, our CTE programs, our ACES, and some of those other state programs. I was not aware of those 3 weeks ago, so that will be part of my 45-day update when I bring those back to you. But that's all very, very good news. I mentioned a new report that we are going to have to do, so they are canceling the 2021 LCAP that was going to need to come to you by December 15th. And now we have a new learning, continuity, and attendance plan that will need to be developed and adopted by September 30th. So you will see that in just 3 months' time. So we have a lot of work to do besides reopening schools. So it should be an exciting time. So as I mentioned, the adopted budget has 2 major components. One is the 2019-20 estimated actuals. And I've put on here some of those things that is an update really to that last interim report that I presented to you on May 28th. And so I had staff go back and revise those estimates so that we're looking at all of those new information that we had from May 28th until just about 3 weeks ago. So not a lot of time, but they were able to go back and revise some of those estimates. So on the document that you have, the first column is 2019 estimated actuals, is just another update to all of the adopted budget and interim reports that you have seen to date. And then I outlined on these screens just what that difference was from the last interim report that was presented to you on May 28th, just so you would have some perspective. The biggest difference between revenue and expenditures is that we did not spend some of our restricted grant dollars, and they're what we call unearned revenue grants. So if you don't spend it, you don't get to count the revenue. And so I had to remove those. So overall, it's only a $33,000 difference. However, the difference really is from restricted to unrestricted. In the adopted budget, as I mentioned, I used a zero COLA, zero deficits. We still have our declining enrollment, as we've discussed before. For 2021, that's about a $3.28 million loss in revenues, just related to just that declining enrollment. So if we can get attendance up, or if we can keep those kids, then we automatically raise our revenue. I did do a bit of projections on lowering interest, thinking might not come in as high as it's been. I budgeted lottery at about 85% of what is normal, because again, wanted to be very conservative with that. And I already mentioned the state grant revenues. The 1.4 million that we're using for that, those Chromebooks. And then just, I had to restore all of the contributions that were lower in 1920 due to savings because of the school closure and our ability not to take professional development conferences, all of those kind of things. On the expense side, all of the automatic negotiated increases are all in the budget. We had staffing changes due to our enrollment projections, as well as expanding our DLI program. So our dual language immersion is going to 5th grade at our 2 elementary schools. So we added 4 teachers for that program. The state budget did maintain the reduction in the STRS and PERS rates. So that was quite a bit of savings for the district, over $2 million that we're recognizing in 2021. I did have to restore all of the savings that we had from the school closures, because the contracts are going back up. We will have subs again. We will have overtime. All of those things we didn't spend in the last 3 months of the school year are restored in here. We also have a regular increase to our property and liability insurance, our utilities, some of our health and welfare costs for our classified and our management units, transportation, crossing guards, county tuition. All of those things that just naturally go up because of the normal cost of living that unfortunately doesn't stop. And then also included in the 2021 are the board approved budget stabilization plan that was approved on June 11th. This chart just shows you the adopted budget, unrestricted, restricted, and a total. In my multi-year projections, I include our continued enrollment decrease. I am hoping and praying that that will at some point stop, but trend analysis says I need to right now be conservative, so I'm continuing that. All of our automatic step-in columns. I've included expanding the DLI program into the middle school in 21-22, so that is included in here. We have regular changes to automatic step, STRS and PERS, all of those kind of things. Anything that I might have brought in or lowered in 2021, I am restoring in 21-22 and moving forward. So here's what the multi-year projections look like. So adopted budget right now is a total general fund. We'll have a ending balance for 1920 of $20 million. That's the line that says estimated beginning fund balance, and the column that says 2021. So a beginning balance for 1 year is the ending balance for the year before. We still are deficit spending, understandably so, and with the declining enrollment and everything else. So we will projected to end 2021 with a $14 million ending fund balance. Those extra dollars over and above our required 3% are needed for the following years. You can see in 21-22, we don't quite make our 3%. So we still have those because of the declining enrollment and some of those other automatic contractual requirements for those costs to continue to go up. We won't have enough with all of my projections right now. If something changes, like the state gives us COLA in 21-22, these numbers will obviously change. They will change every time that we have something new to report. We get more dollars, something changes, person stirs, whatever that might be. These numbers obviously always change because as the all of the data and criteria change, so does the adopted budget. These are the projections with that. 22-23, again, with no COLA and with automatic step increases, with STRS going back up to 18% from 16 in 22-23, we obviously are going to have more expenditures. And so the picture doesn't look good, but it is also 3 years out or 2 years out. And so it gives us that time to work through all of those decisions that might need to be made and bring in different data and criteria at that point in time. I outlined on this page just what it looks like just on our LCFF. So really just talking about that declining enrollment, which just steadies out at about $3 million each and every year with a 300 enrollment decline. Remember, again, we're getting no increases in LCFF. I brought just a zero COLA forward. So it looks bad. If we get COLA at some point in time in a future year, these numbers obviously will increase. Just some other criteria that I used for those multi-year projections. Auto step, what those dollar amounts are, those STRS and PERS rates that I mentioned. You'll notice that PERS continues to go up. So that is the retirement system for our classified employees, both CSEA and management. STRS is going down for 2021 and 21-22, but shoots back up to 18.1% in 22-23. So we have a 2-year forgiveness on STRS where it actually goes down. PERS just didn't increase as large as what it had been projected to increase. So these rates are included there as well. This is what your multi-year looks like on a unrestricted basis. And then I included, just for perspective, what it looks like globally for all of our districts. Keeping in mind that everything past line 1 is all restricted dollars, and they have to be used for the intent of what that particular district fund is for. So next steps would be for the board to approve this adopted budget. I will then send it to the county tomorrow, and then I will be bringing you back that 45-day update based on whatever the state includes tomorrow when it is approved, and anything else that will happen at that August board meeting.
All righty. So do we have any questions for Dusty? I have one question, Dusty.
Okay.
In the ADA, I don't know where I've heard this because I have been, but in the ADA, are we not getting a grace period from like last year or what? Explain to me. I think you've even, explain to me that.
So so normally we get paid through what they call P2 or the second period, which is for us the end of March.
Okay.
This in 1920, because of the school closures on March 13th, they guaranteed us our ADA through the end of February. That for us gained us about 30 ADA because we have a natural declining ADA each and every month, because if a student came the first 10 days of school, right, their ADA, when you keep adding days to the divisor, is going to get lower and lower.
Oh.
Right? Because they only went 10 days. So the first one, you divide it by 80, but now all of a sudden you divide it by 130.
Got it.
And so that ADA is going to decline. So naturally, our trend is that we've got about a 20 to 30 ADA drop from December to January to February to March. Right. We got to stay at February, so we gained about 30 ADA. So that was very exciting. The state budget is indicating they will keep us at that level, which we are always at in prior year guarantee for our ADA. What I'm hoping that translates to, I get to copy 1920 into 2021, which means now we're guaranteeing 122 revenue. Right. So that's fingers crossed.
And when will we find that out?
Well, the state adopts the budget tomorrow, or the vote is supposed to happen tomorrow. Then all of the, official people will go through, and I'll read all the trailer bills to see whether or not I'm able for an LCFF calculation, take that prior year guarantee one more year forward. If that's the case, then we won't go down that $3 million I'm projecting for 21-22.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
Dusty, assuming we're going to approve this tonight, what is your next step, and what do you expect to happen when you take this next step?
So the major changes from this adopted budget to what I'll be bringing back with the 45-day update, I do know I get to bring back in ACES revenue, because I put a 15% decrease, which is what all of the May revise and state proposals were at the time that I put the budget together. So I will be able to bring those dollars back in. I'll be able to bring some CTE dollars. So I know on the restricted side, we will be able to utilize that. I also expect to have a bit more of a spending plan for those federal relief dollars, so that we'll know how we're going to spend those. Now, those are a revenue and expense, need to equal each other. It will have impact to our required 3% reserve, but at least I will know what those expenditures are. So you will have a more comprehensive budget, both a little bit more in revenue, and then I will do another analysis of, hopefully maybe I will know about that prior year guarantee for ADA, which won't affect 2021, but may affect my projections for 21-22.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there any other questions for Dusty? No?
Just a comment. Thank you for taking the time to update this and constantly be working with the PowerPoint to show us the most up-to-date information. As I review your PowerPoint, I was looking at, I don't think I have the right page number, but the 2020/2021 adopted budget, where you have the 3 years out, or the 2 years additional. What do you, I'm looking at the designated or the remaining fund balance, which shows the end of the year projected balances. What do you, why would I interpret the larger variance between the two funding ending balance? So, I mean, I'm glad that we're seeing a $14,000 end fund balance, which covers our 3% reserve. What is that? Is that just carryover? Is that all the grants? What do you attest all the funding end balance to?
Right. So I've put back up on the sharing on page 17. So this one in particular is actually total general fund. I should have taken off where it said unrestricted. The 14 million, oh, sorry, no, this is actually unrestricted. The 14 million ending fund balance for 2021, that is, remember we had quite a bit of savings in 1920. So that 20 million is probably between 4 and 6 million of savings from COVID, not being able to go to professional development, LCAP expenditures that we didn't have, just schools not being in session and not needing to buy toilet paper, not that we could get it, but toilet paper or soap or all of those kind of things. So we had quite a bit of savings. The fact that we're deficit spending that second 6 million, I had to put that back in, right? All of those expenditures went back in. So that 20 million, when you overspend your revenues by $6 million, it's going to go down to 14. Without any other action, that 6 million then becomes 10 million next year, because you are spending the same 6 million and then it almost doubles. And so we'll go down to 4 million in 21-22. We do not have enough to meet our 3% with these current projections. But if they prior year guarantee our 1920 ADA to 2021, then our 21-22 will be $3 million higher. If they give us a COLA in 21-22, then these dollars would be higher. If through, I don't know, they tell us that some of the federal learning loss dollars we get to carry over to the following year, we might be able to have a larger funding balance. So many things change from one meeting to the next when you're looking, it's all an educated guess, really, is what your projections are, right? Data, criteria, trend analysis, all of those kind of things to be able to put together what I think the next year will be. If we don't lose 300 kids, we only lose 200, these numbers would go up. So all of those things can change depending upon the data and criteria.
Thank you, Dusty. As we all know, the uncertainty of next year, who knows, if we close again, you might have to put in money for not spending for new closures. Exactly. So thank you again for explaining that.
You're welcome.
Okay, and so with all of that, with the COLA possibly and all the other possibilities, when will we know that number? Do we know? It's not that 45 days?
No. So the 45-day update all they will tell me is this is what the 2021 budget is. They haven't developed their 21-22. The state is not required to do a multi-year projection like we are. All they have to do is do a state budget for the current year. So I will know after tomorrow when they vote on the state budget what I can have in the 2021. That's what I will be bringing back to you. If I know anything else based on AXA or CSBA or any of my professional organizations that I consult, as it reflects 21-22 or prior, then those will be included in there, and I will highlight those for you.
And so when will that be coming to us?
So that will be coming. It's a 45-day update, so it'll be coming by August 15th or whatever board meeting we have in August. Yes, that
So
August
all
board
of
meeting.
that will be in that report, that 45-day report.
As much as I know. And then the next one would be our first interim, which comes to you in December.
December, right. Okay.
If I don't do a monthly in between, because things will change on a daily basis.
Wow. Okay. And I'm sure we'll talk about it on Monday. So we always seem to.
Yes.
All right. All right. Is there any other questions from any of the other board members? All right. Okay. With that, we are going to go to we're going to go to a vote. All right, Mr. Schwann.
Aye.
Mrs. Marino.
Aye.
Dr. Dorado. Aye. And Ms. Vega.
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Okay, with that, we're going to go on to 9E1, review proposed revisions to board policies and administrative regulations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and at this time, I'm going to ask the board if we can waive the second reading and just go ahead and adopt these as recommended.
Yes. What do we have to do?
All you have to do is vote.
Aye.
There you go. Mrs.
Marino,
Moreno.
aye.
Dr. Dorado. Aye. Ms. Vega.
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson, aye. All righty. And now we're going to go to Human Resources. 9F1, approve personnel order number 18-2019-2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
No.
Okay, with that, Mr. Schwann,
Aye.
Ms. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado,
Aye.
Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson is an aye. We'll go to 9F2, adopt resolution number 61, elimination of 3.5 certificated management positions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, with that, I'm going to go to a vote. Mr. Schwann,
Aye.
Mrs. Marino,
Aye.
Dr. Dorado, aye. Ms. Vega,
Aye.
and Mrs. Wilson, aye. Okay, with that, we are done with we're done with that portion of the meeting. We're going to go to discussion items. And I just want you all to know that next week, our next board meeting, Ms. Vega has asked us to put on for a discussion, ethnic studies discussion for that. Yes, so we're really excited about that. So Lizette, that will be on next board meeting for discussion.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, we'll go back to this board meeting at 10A1, district-wide facilities report. And here we go, Kev, because, okay, I'm just so excited to see all those things. I was like screaming and yelling, awesome job, awesome job.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. Entire screen and share. And let's see. So I don't know, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay, so this is the facilities report for the month of May. And although we had the COVID shut down and everything, there were a few things that we were able to complete. Not as much as I would have hoped, but that we are getting into our summer period, and so we can get some more stuff done. And so I'm going to do a recap of all the facility projects for the month of May. On those slides, they'll have the funding sources, some before and after photos, and then we'll have a little sneak peek of some of the things that are occurring in June. And then one project that is under, well, it's in design still, is our facility grant project at La Sierra High School. And so our first school we're going to talk about is the McAuliffe Elementary. And this is for the asphalt playground striping. And so here you can see before photo. Obviously, a lot of the numbers are not visible. Other lines for the ball, tetherball, basketball courts, and things like that are really not too visible. We also have a number of cracks in the asphalt too. So here's the after photos. And so now we have a fresh asphalt with some nice brand new lines.
Wow.
So now the kids will know what is out of bounds and what isn't out of bounds. And so here's our basketball courts. We have our 3-point line, which is where I usually shoot the basketball from. And then our 4 square lines as well. So our next project was with Arizona Middle School, and this again was the asphalt. Here's one area where we have the cracks, and this was pretty much throughout the site. And then we also have some bent poles, and so this really became a hazard for our physical education folks. There was actually large sections of the asphalt that the PE people couldn't do any of their hold any of their class activities on. So, and we ultimately in February had to shut down the entire blacktop and keep everybody off of it. It was that bad. And so here's some more before photos. Here's a photo here of kind of the after as they're finishing up, and some other areas where asphalt was redone. That project is on our sneak peek. We do have the basketball and volleyball poles that were done in June, and so you'll see pictures of those, as well as the new striping there. Additionally, at Arizona Middle School, the boys' locker room, and so those lockers were original lockers from when the school was built. A number of them had sharp edges, just not really safe for our students. And then Twin Hill was another asphalt playground project that we did this month, and you'll see pictures on those. And then next, I'm going to talk about an upcoming project, and this is the La Sierra Culinary Arts Lab project. And this was a 50-50 project with the state CTE grant, and so the district was awarded the maximum amount of approximately $1.5 million, which means the district needs to put in at least $1.5 million to match. And so here is a aerial shot of the La Sierra High School, and you can kind of see in this yellow area, this is where the La Sierra, where the Culinary Arts Lab will be located. This is La Sierra Avenue down here in the bottom, and so just to give you some perspective of where this project will be. And So we have some pretty renderings.
It's so
and-
pretty.
Oh, I
so
know.
Pretty. Love it.
So this is the Eagle's Nest Cafe, and with a
Beautiful.
marquee sign, walk-up windows. And we worked with a number of the culinary staff, not just at La Sierra, but also with the culinary folks at Norte Vista and Viegas as well. They all weighed into the design on this project. And so, although La Sierra has a new staff member that is heading up the project, he was also brought up to speed before the COVID shutdown, and so he is excited to get started as well. And here's another view of the campus, and so our architect Baker Nowicki Design Studio helped put these renderings together.
Gosh, it's so fabulous. Just
I'm
fabulous.
so excited.
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
This right here is a chalkboard, so that they can put up specials
daily
and things like
specials.
that for any daily specials that they have going on. And
Look at that, Robert. Look what they're doing to your high school, Robert. Make it all pretty.
I see that. Is
yes,
this going to be ready for opening day?
no, it's not.
First I thought it was completed. I'm like, is that already there? Because I know Julie would have been screaming if it was. I'm like, no way.
Oh
But I'm
no.
like,
Yeah, I have a
would've
big tarp over it, so you can't see, and I'm gonna pull the tarp down.
oh,
This is just a rendering.
it is
so-
awesome though.
But
That's awesome.
yeah, they do a really good job because they can superimpose the rendering onto the existing photos of the campus, and so it really gives a true,
Yeah.
realistic, picture of what it's going to look like.
I'm surprised you didn't like put Julie in there, like the little.
She
frozen-
is.
Okay.
She is. That's
next
her right
time.
there. That's
So-
Julie right there.
Let's put Julie in there.
Yeah, and this is me over here that's walking.
There you go. I like it. I like it.
Here's a floor plan, and I'm going to have a little blow up of it, and we're going to talk a little bit about the project. But so here we have a row of classrooms that are not going to be part of the project, but then this area down here, kind of in a L shape, is going to wrap around, and that's going to be pretty much under demolition and rebuild. There is one area where this workroom is, that right now is like an open, uncovered patio. There's a gate fence along here, so that's going to be enclosed as well. And really, that's going to combine both the residential kitchen and then our commercial kitchen, which is on this side. And so they both act and have different materials, different finishes, different equipment in each of those kitchens. And so in between those, we have a workroom, a common workroom, and then a common dining room. And so I'm going to have renderings of those that I'm going to show you shortly. And so when we're looking at a residential kitchen, it really is residential style finishes, more along the lines of like what back in our days when we had the home ec type scenario.
What do you mean, our days, Kevin? What's it saying there?
Well, I
Robert,
guess in my day when they had the home ec classes. Nowadays, the new generation, they're going to get a commercial kitchen, which is really more restaurant grade finishes, type of equipment, and really learn how to do food prep in a culinary type setting, whether it be a hotel, a major restaurant.
Yeah.
And then up here we have the snack bar, which has the walk-up windows. So this is like your Eagle's Nest. This is where kids will be able to order things, whether it be to-go items. And then we have a staff servery. This is really like a staff lounge, for La Sierra staff. And so again, I'm going to have renderings in all these spaces here. Before I go into the renderings of these rooms, does anybody have any questions on anything I've shown so far?
No, it's all fabulous.
Excitement, pure excitement.
Okay. So here's what our residential kitchen rendering looks like. And so you can see some of the finishes, are more residential style flooring. Although you're not going to see this type of ceiling in a residence, but just gives it some accent, some color, some depth. I think the kids and the students and the staff are really going to enjoy it. And then we get into our instructional kitchen. So here again, this is the residential. So there's in between all these kitchen counters, there's still the desk with the chairs, and so if there's any kind of instruction being done, that can be done with the teacher in the front, with a monitor that can do demonstrations and show kids what they're going to be cooking for the day. This is our snack bar. So this is our walk-up windows, our point of sales. We have, it's very, very similar to what you might see in a drive-through fast food type restaurant as far as the type of equipment that they have here. And so really it's going to give the kids, the students, a taste of all various types of food type environments and hospitality.
Yes.
Very cool.
Here is our staff lounge. And so our staff lounge.
Oh my gosh, they are gonna love that.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Oh my word.
So a lot of this really came up when we had the Arizona MLK event, looking at what they were putting in place there for their staff lounge. Kind of gave me the idea that maybe we need to go that same direction here with La Sierra. And although they don't have the fancy stenciled wall that we saw at Arizona, but they do have, some fancy lighting,
Julie.
diffusers.
I'm gonna go stencil.
I know, I can see it now. And so, flooring is, the carpet squares, which is really good for the sound, and then being durable for spills and things of that sort. And then we have our classroom. So this is our classroom or our dining room that you saw on the plan. So this is kind of the room between the commercial and the residential. All these tables and chairs will be movable to be set up like a dining room environment, whether it be even like a fast food dining room or like a hotel type dining room setting.
The students are going to go absolutely wild over this.
They are
going to go wild. This is incredible.
I think it's really going to attract, a lot of students to this school.
I think so too.
Between this program and their current hospital program.
Yes.
Health Academy. Business Academy as well. It's stellar there.
And so this right here, and I don't have any before pictures because it really wouldn't show up very well on the screen. And so here's our commercial kitchen, and so we have some commercial stainless steel type finishes that you'll see in a commercial kitchen. The flooring is more of a commercial type finishes. You can't really see on the picture, but like the cook range, the stoves, all those are all commercial, what students would see in a commercial kitchen. And so the idea is, again, when they if they go through this program, that they will be able to walk into any kitchen out there and start working and know their way around the equipment. And that concludes my presentation.
Bravo,
Okay.
bravo. So can we be done by tomorrow?
Oh yes, so Robert asked about the time frame. So
Yeah.
so we just submitted these plans to the Division of State Architect, and that happened a couple weeks ago. And so that process takes about 5 months to get through that process. And so the target date for demolition is probably around winter break, because we'll need to, once we do have those plans, is go out to bid and award, which will probably be at the November or December meeting, because December is kind of an early meeting, board meetings, and then demolition will start, probably around winter break. And as far as a duration timeline, will probably be the move-in will probably be the following fall, as far as a move-in. So basically, they just have one more school year left in their current kitchen setting, and so I'll be working with the new staff, because obviously with the new principal, new APs, they have not seen any of this stuff, and so I'll be working with them to get them up to speed on what's happening, and so that they can start promoting it, for their incoming freshmen and things like that. So
I can't wait. Yeah, can you imagine when we do our CTE showcases and we bring our middle schoolers to a high school to see all of the different programs at all of our different high schools? Imagine how wonderful having these renderings, the excitement that that's going to cause. Great job. I didn't get to see any of this, y'all, until right now, this second, and I am blown away.
I know.
Thank you so much.
I snuck a peek at the presentation, so I have.
I love it. How did you entertain yourself?
I'm so excited. So excited. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for
Thank you, board.
Fabulous work. All right. With that, is there anything else the board has? Dr. Muzzarino, anything else? You're muted.
As if it was so easy, huh?
It's just a push of that darn button.
I do actually. I would like to share one more thing, if I may.
Okay.
Let me find it.
I'm at the edge of my seat now. I'm thinking, how does it get better than that? Renderings. I'm excited.
Well, believe it or not, it does get better. Because in addition to Reina, speaking of La Sierra, Deja Somerville was also awarded $1,000. Deja is a former student of Dr. Kemp's at Loma.
Yes, that's wonderful.
And this is happened today along with Reina's. So Mr. Marquez and I think Rose and Priscilla were there as well, all masked up and socially distanced. This was a surprise for the students, by the way. This originally came to my attention from Trustee Vega, whose deaf work inside the city and the community is paying some serious dividends for our children. And we, of course, have been working with Northgate. They've been wonderful partners since Mr. Swan actually was originally on a conference or in a meeting, I believe, where they came and talked about how they want to be great community partners, which certainly they have been. They've gifted us, continue to gift us, and Riverside as well. Well, with this young lady, she'd moved after she graduated. and no longer lives here, but yet they still were happy to award her. So they worked through. All we did was just connect them, and Mr. Marquez took it over pretty much from there. And they surprised. Mom had to make up some story for why they're going there, and there it was when he got there. So, Kevin, sorry to upstage you with that. Although, of course, that culinary center is something special, and gosh, so many great options and just possibilities when you talk about culinary programs, nutritional science, particularly, of course, with the Health Academy, the wonderfully highly distinguished California Distinguished Academy program there. So anyway, lots of exciting stuff. Well, congratulations to Deja Somerville and to Reina Silva, of course, and all of our children, the remarkable top 25. Again, Albert children doing wonderful things because of Albert teachers and Albert staff, and of course the Board of Education. So great way to close out our meeting. Not that I'm recommending you close out our meeting or anything like that.
Oh, okay. You're so funny. Of course I'm going to close out our meeting. Okay. So with that, I am going to, though, welcome everybody to please put on their calendar for July the 9th, Thursday, July the 9th. That is our next study session. So we would like everybody to come back. And again, if you have comments, please remember that we take the comments up until that morning at 9 o'clock. So please send them to superintendent email. So we have those to read out loud. So we'd love to hear from you in any way, shape, or form. And we'll do that. And then with that, I think we're going to call it an end to this meeting. And thank you, board, for being with us, and staff and everybody. And at 8:25, we're going to say goodnight. Take care, everybody, and stay safe. Be healthy, everybody. Bye-bye.